Good Thursday morning, everyone. This week we are letting you listen to our Pastor Stacie Wood because we had her husband Andy on the show, but never her in terms of a message. And that we are doing this week. The message is called Transforming Relationships from Romans chapter 12. I know it's blessing my life. I hope it is yours. Let's get back to Stacie.
It is an others-focused kind of love. It's not self-centered, it's others-focused. Romans 12:10 says, honor one another above yourselves. Jesus set the ultimate example for us of what it looks like to be others-focused. He came and he said, I'm not here to be served, but I came to serve and to give my life up for other people. When Jesus was in that upper room, he got down on his knees and he washed the nasty feet of his disciples. But get it, he is the rabbi in the room. He's the leader. He's the one with the most honor. But he says, no, I'm gonna humble myself and serve you, and I'm gonna tell you to go and do likewise. He told us not to take the seat of honor at the table, but to always take the lowest seat. Why? Because we are to honor one another above ourselves. It's a love that says, I will put your goals above my own goals. I'm not gonna make you earn this kind of love. Have you ever been in a relationship where nothing comes for free? And you're like, they were nice to me, that's gonna cost me. It's a relationship that's like, okay, I cooked dinner, so you're cleaning the dishes. Or I drove you to the airport, and now it's your turn to drive me to the airport. It's like, no, that's not it. That is not this kind of others-focused love. And others-focused love says, it is my joy to help you. It's my joy to help you. We have our middle son, Sammy, is really into cars right now. And he wants to learn all about cars and figure out how to do things with cars. Now, if you know my husband, you would know he's not a cars guy. He don't know much about cars. And actually the only time I remember Andy working on a car, it was before we were married, and his fan belt on his car was squealing. It was like, and so he and my dad, who is also not a cars guy, they're standing in the garage looking at this car with the fan belt squealing. They're literally no help to each other in this moment. And my dad says, well, whenever there's a squeaky door hinge, you just put some WD-40 on it. It makes it stop squealing. You guys know what's gonna happen if you spray WD-40 on a fan belt? It is gonna fly right off with incredible force, I might add. It was something to behold. So Andy, not a cars guy. Sammy, he's a cars guy. And Andy loves Sammy. And so Sammy wants to figure out how to change the oil on the car. And when's the best time to change the oil on the car? Well, it's on the weekend. I don't know if you've noticed, though, Andy works most weekends. And his job requires a lot of intense focus. It requires a lot of emotional outpouring. And so by the time he gets done with preaching the fourth service on Sunday afternoon, about all he's good for is to sit on a couch and stare at the wall. But Sammy's a cars guy, and he wants to learn how to change the oil. And so what does Andy do the last month full of weekends is he has watched so many YouTube videos on how to change oil on a car. And he and Sammy have made countless trips to the auto store to get their supplies and to buy their tools. They have spent hours underneath both of our cars and underneath our friend's car learning to change the oil together because Andy said, it's my joy to help you. You're not a burden to me, Sammy. I love you. I would love to help you reach this goal of yours. And so it's my joy. This is an others-focused kind of love. It's so beautiful. And the fourth component of this kind of love is that it's open-handed. It's an open-handed love instead of self-preserving. In Romans chapter 12, verse 13, it says, share with God's people who are in need. Did you know that generosity was a defining characteristic of the early church? It's supposed to be a defining characteristic of everyone who follows Jesus, but the early church really got it. Like we can see in Acts chapter 2, how it says that the early church, they shared all of their possessions in common with one another. And if there was anyone that had a need among them, somebody else would sell one of their possessions and help to meet that need. So there was just this open-handedness among the early church. They got it. It was a compassionate way of living. You see, an open-handed love, it says, what do I have that you need? What do I have that you need? How can I meet that need? Loving with open hands, it's not just about money. And open-handedness, generosity, it's always attached to our wallet, but it is also attached to our calendar, because sometimes we can be real stingy with our time. And the thing that someone might need from you is time. The thing that someone might need from you is your wisdom, your experience to come alongside and help and to mentor. Maybe the thing that somebody needs from you is just to sit with them and to be a friend, to show comfort, to listen to their story. An open-handed kind of love says, God, it's all yours anyway. All of the stuff that you've given to me, it belongs to you. And so how do you want me to redirect your resources this week? Does somebody need a ride? I happen to have a car. Does somebody need a place to stay? I happen to have a home. Maybe you know someone in your life, perhaps they're single and they live far away from their family, and they would love to be a part of your family for a dinner or for a holiday. And that's a need that they have that you could meet. What is it that you have that could help meet someone else's need? It's an open-handed kind of love. And when you combine that quality of being others-focused with open-handed, wow, can you imagine how that would change the culture, the climate of a room? We would all come in with our eyes up, scanning the room, saying, who has a need and how can I meet that need? That's a kind of community that people will say, I want to be a part of that. That's a different way of loving one another with an open-handed kind of love. The fifth one is that this is a hospitable love. It's hospitable instead of isolated. In Romans 12:13, it says very simply, practice hospitality. You know, we are not a very communal society. There are certain cultures and parts of the world where they're more community-based. But even that, globally, we are becoming more and more independent. Statistically, we are becoming more and more isolated. And you can see this in all different walks of life. You can see this at a community level. You can see this in our extended families. You can see this in our immediate families. For example, at a community level, if you just think about the people that live directly beside you, like your neighbors, people that live in close proximity to you, and how easy it is for us to drive in and out of our driveways, and we go in through our garage, and we could go weeks without ever seeing our neighbor, without ever having a good conversation with them. Here's a little test for you. If your car was to break down and you needed a ride to work, are you more likely to call an Uber or to knock on the door of your neighbor? You see, there's no connection there. We live more and more in isolation. Even with our extended families, if you think back several generations ago, it was very common for extended families to live in the same community with one another, sometimes even on the same piece of property. And sometimes there would be a family business, and everybody's contributing to this family business, and there are aunts and uncles that are investing in the lives of their nieces and nephews, and you're surrounded by people who know you and love you, and they're invested deeply in your life. But it's different now. And extended families are spread out all over the globe, and sometimes with very little connection, without conversation, without influence on one another's lives, because we've become increasingly more isolated. The thing that's most interesting to me, though, is how this is affecting our immediate families, the people that we live in the same house with, and how we're becoming more and more isolated even within our own homes. Our physical houses have become much larger over the course of time, so everybody can just kind of spread out to their own space. Since 1950, the square footage in houses has more than doubled. And so people have their own bedrooms, people have their own bathrooms, their own little areas of the house that they go to. And on the rare occasion that we are all home together at the same time, this person's over here on a computer, and that person's watching TV, and this person's over here doing their thing. And there's very little that brings us together.
him the glory.